Hello, buddy. Welcome back to Tin Man's Core Channel. I'm your host, Jeff Tin Man Taylor, and today I'll be reacting to my third and final scary storyteller, and it's Mr. Haunted. And the video that I'll be reacting to is 3 horrifying, true deep web horror stories. So without further ado, I'm going to turn these lights off, move the camera up here for you guys, and let's get this reaction on the road and in the back, shall we? Okay, here we go. Okay, I'm glad that Mr. Haunted put this in here. So the stories in here are going to be very disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
This story took place a few months ago, primarily shortly after I had graduated from high school. I've always been that young and naive teen who was always what people refer to as a loner, as I'm very socially awkward and have trouble making friends, not to mention talking to people. Throughout most of my teen years, I'd mainly turned to the internet, playing video games like Call of Duty and Fortnite, just keeping to myself.
Yeah, I get it. Some people were like that, and I was like that a little bit too, but I talked to people while I was in school, just so they wouldn't think I'm really weird or keeping quiet to myself all the time. But anyway, let's continue.
One day, I was on Reddit looking through forums that had a lot to do with computers and tech, as that was the major I planned on studying in college. I came across one post on Reddit about a group of people who were talking about what is known as the dark web. I have briefly heard of this place before, but never really understood the proper context as to what it actually was.
Believe me, if you're focused on internet tech, focus on that. Don't worry about the dark web or the deep web. It's a place you definitely don't want to look at on the internet.
I've heard there were drug websites and people on there that exposed classified government information. But I then clicked on the discussion page, which gave me a better understanding. Apparently, it was a lot more than just drugs. There were supposedly hitmen for hire, advanced hackers, weird fetish sites, illegal pornography, torture, and even forms of cannibalism. I tried my best to stay clear from that stuff. At this point, my apathy toward the so-called dark web grew more and more, and I started to become eager as to what was on it. The dark web isn't indexed by search engines, so I downloaded a Tor browser, which is a special browser to gain access to the dark web. I did the usual setup to keep my IP address hidden, which seemed simple enough, and after a few clicks, I was then in. The first thing that popped up was something called the Hidden Wiki, which had a bunch of forums and categories. Drugs, editors' picks, adult content, and something called special services. I was completely oblivious while on here, as I didn't know what I was doing, so I ended up clicking on a link that directed me to a white page full of links in blue, each of them ending in .onion.
At that point, I'll be like, alright, this is ridiculous. I'm not clicking on anything else, because if you do, you'll get a virus or someone looking up where you live at.
Now, they weren't the normal links we're all familiar with. These links were full of random numbers and letters, which I found odd. As I'm scrolling through the seemingly endless pages of links, a pop-up tab appeared up on my screen. A line of text popped up saying that I've been invited to something referred to as the Horror Show, along with a hyperlink attached to it. My decision-making was not the best at this point in my life. I was young and naive, and I stupidly clicked the link and didn't even think twice about it. My computer screen immediately went dark, and a flashing white light started appearing on my screen. This process continued for a good minute or so before finally stopping, and I was led to what looked like a video box of some type. At this point, I'm completely confused and actually somewhat paranoid, as I didn't know what was going on.
I know you were naive at the time, but I would have been saying, don't click on the link, because then you'll get directed to some video box, and you're probably going to see somebody getting tortured, so you better hurry up and exit off of that stuff quick, while you still can.
I clicked the play button on the video box, and eventually saw what looked like a dark, empty room of some type.
Well, why'd you do that?
Someone from inside the room stepped toward the camera, and for some reason just stopped. However, the harder I looked, I began to realize that whoever this person was wearing a clown mask of some type. I decided that I had enough of whatever this video was, so I clicked the X to close my window. The only problem, my window was frozen and I couldn't close out. Suddenly my adrenaline kicked in and I was forced to stare at this video with a creepy clown man. Whoever was behind the camera then said something that made my blood run cold. "You can't leave, Stephen." He said my name, and that's when I could see a red flashing dot at the bottom of my screen indicating that this video was actually a live stream of some type. Considering the fact that it's extremely difficult to live stream with a Tor browser, I had no idea as to how he was doing this. I held down the power button for a good minute before finally turning off. I still have no idea if that person was just bluffing with me or was really meant to do harm, but I will never be returning to find out.
Thank God you were able to turn your computer screen off, because I guarantee you that if you stayed on, that dude in the clown mask probably would have brought somebody out to torture right in front of you and everybody else looking at it, which is very sick. But I said it in the other deep dark web videos I reacted to. Do not download the Tor browser and get on the dark or deep web, because you'll run into a bunch of trouble. And I got a feeling that since he was in the chat, that dude was able to identify who he was quickly. But I'm just glad that this person did not send him any threatening letters or calling him nonstop or even show up at his house. So he should be all right. But let's get to story number 2.
One of the hottest trends on YouTube right now is ordering these random mystery boxes from complete strangers on the dark web and opening them on camera.
Hey, no. I wouldn't do this challenge at all, because you never know if you'll get a mystery box that has artifacts from a crime scene. And that's something you definitely don't want to open up on camera, even body parts.
I don't know why I didn't realize a clear majority of these videos are fake and staged for their scare factor, but I didn't. Anyway, I thought it was a great idea and hopped on the bandwagon to claim my YouTube stardom that I desperately longed for. For those of you who don't know about the deep web, it's simply a part of the internet that isn't accessible from your classic Chrome, Firefox, or Explorer search engines. You must download the encryption program Tor and the Tor browser for starters. It's not illegal to access this part of the internet, but since it's anonymous, a great deal of illegal actions happens here. The possibilities are endless. Anyway, I grabbed my laptop I have had since I graduated in 2011 and downloaded the required programs. I prefer to use my laptop over my desktop in case of viruses and such. My 7-year-old laptop is a little more disposable. I had a little Bitcoin phase a few years ago when it was blowing up, so I had saved a little already. It wasn't much, only 0.1 Bitcoin to be exact, which translates to about roughly $632 USD.
Well, dang.
But it wasn't enough for what I was looking for.
You see, if I was into that Bitcoin stuff, I would have been trying to save it up instead of throwing it away on mystery boxes like this. But he did make a point that sometimes people on YouTube would say they bought mystery boxes from the deep or dark web, but then they have it staged to where it's nothing really bad. It's just something to make everybody jump back in their seats, basically. But still, I wouldn't get on here and buy one of those because it could be dangerous.
After the downloads were finished, I opened the browser and started my journey at the Hidden Wiki. They provide a lot of useful links to get you started on the dark web. I scrolled through the warnings and gist of what it was and found the links I was looking for. Almost forgot, I muttered to myself as I grabbed the duct tape from my desk drawer. I cut a tiny square piece off of the end and placed it over my webcam, as there are hackers on the dark web that can gain access to your webcam without you even knowing. Call me paranoid, but I'd rather be safe than sorry.
There you go. I would have done that as well, because he is right. There's hackers on the dark web that access your computer and your webcam just so they can see who you look like.
I clicked on the very first link and waited for what seemed like forever for the page to finally load. It was another very plain page with a list of popular websites that you could scroll through on the side. I continued my search through the web links until I found a page dedicated to mystery boxes. Jackpot. I wanted to find one around $500 so people knew I meant business on my channel. I was worried about being scammed, so I decided to continue my search after a quick bathroom break. When I came back, I noticed my cursor was off to the side and was able to click on a link that must have matched the background color of the web page because I couldn't see it. I indulged in my curiosity and hit the link. I was then taken to a pitch black page with small white text near the top of it. It said, "I'm selling one random package to anyone brave enough to receive it for only 0.12 Bitcoin. Only one, huh? I thought to myself. I'll shoot my shot. I hit the small payment button and was asked how much I'd like to spend. I answered 0.1 Bitcoin with fingers crossed. The payment went through without any hesitation, and I was instantly met with a chat box asking where I'd like my package to be sent. I know this wasn't a good idea, and I regret doing it till this day. But the other YouTube channels use their own address often, so I thought nothing of it. Gave my home address.
I would not do that at all because you definitely don't want these people to show up at your place and try to rob you later. I think a safer way would be just use a P.O. box, but still, I would not order nothing from this dark place whatsoever. It's not worth the trouble.
I waited a little over a month for the box to come in, 36 days to be exact. It arrived directly on my front porch and was wrapped numerous times in red tape. I set my camera on the tripod and adjusted it to show me and the box on the small wooden table. I draped a sheet in the background so it looked a little more professional. Hey everybody, welcome to tonight's vlog. Boy, do I have a surprise for you. I continued my monologue mentioning how I got the box and how much I paid. Now, without wasting any further time, let's open this deep web mystery box. I grab the scissors and cut along the red tape. I make sure my gloves are on tight and I rip the box open. All I see is just a book. Without saying a word, I take the book out of the box. I was pretty pissed considering the fact that I spent over $600 on this. Well, folks, it looks like we got us a dud. These pages better be made of gold. The outside of the book was old and tattered, and it smelled of mildew and mold. I cracked the book open to the first page and glanced over at the contents. It's a photo album. Let's look at the pictures. I show the camera a view of the page's contents. It has 4 pictures on the first page, all labeled by days. The first picture said day 1, the second day 2, and so on.
You see, I would be peed off too if you spent over $600 on just a box that had a photo album in it and nothing else. But I would not be showing nobody else's photos to people on YouTube because that's like invasion of privacy. And you don't know who these people are.
Around day 32, things started getting weird. There was a picture of a house, but not just any house. It was the house I grew up in, my parents' house. My hand covered my mouth as I gasped for air. Day 33, I turned to the page and see a man and woman handcuffed and gagged. It only took me a few seconds to realize that it was my mom and dad. At this point, my hands are trembling and all I could hear is my heartbeat pounding in my ears. I flipped to the last page. All of a sudden, I hear the sound of a camera flash come from inside my room. When I turned around, there was a tall hooded figure in my room looking right at me. He stood there motionless before lifting his hand and waving. I immediately throw the book to the ground and run to the window. I jiggle the hatch frantically and throw it open. Without hesitation, I jump out and run to the neighbors. I screamed for my neighbor, who then hurried me inside and called the cops. I sat there and just cried. I cried out of the fear of my life. I cried for my parents. I cried because it was all my fault. My lack of common sense got my parents killed, and I will have to live with that forever. If you access the deep web, do not release any personal information. Even if people on YouTube do it, most of it's not real. And always check your boxes. It would have saved me a lot of trouble. if I would have noticed the box I received had a no tracking sticker on it. It was hand-delivered.
Man, that one is really horrifying. I bet you that guy came back and grabbed your parents, gagged them, and deleted them without you even knowing somehow, and then took pictures of them and put them in that photo album just so he can hand deliver you that package. But man, I hope the police can figure out all this. If not, his parents would have been deleted in vain. But that's really heartbreaking. But this is why I said you don't get on the deep and dark web, because you might accidentally lead parents or any other loved ones to their demise quickly because you gave whoever on that website your address to deliver something and they came back to delete them.
This happened a few years ago. I haven't touched any technology after what had happened until now. So, I've been using technology since I was a kid. At 12, I learned how to write scripts and programs to hack into systems, and ever since then, I was hooked. Fast forward to my second year in university. I'm now quite good at hacking, albeit somewhat cocky. Throughout high school, I made a lot of money hacking. People would come to me normally to recover their hacked social media accounts or to hack their boyfriend's phone and read their text messages and so on. I was known as the go-to guy if you wanted something hacked.
Wow, he's really smart then, but if he doesn't watch it, he would probably get in trouble with the law for all this. But let's continue on with the story, see what happens.
Hell, even my school occasionally came to me for help if some script kiddie shut down the school's website with a low-orbit ion cannon. Like I said, I made a lot of money doing this through high school, so getting a job was pointless. Halfway through my second year of university, I started getting bored with this. The money was good, but there was no thrill in it. One of my friends told me about this cool thing called the dark web. I have heard of this place before, but it never really seemed that interesting to me, at least not in my opinion. My friend told me how it was full of drugstores, weapons dealers, hackers for hire, and a bunch of messed up content. As a hacker and a stoner, the dark web seemed right up my alley. When I got home that day, I fired up my computer and did some quick Googling. With my vast knowledge of technology, it didn't take me long to get set up with a Tor browser installed on my computer. I practically sped through the hidden wiki, finding most of the websites either boring or dead. I then texted my friend asking if he had any interesting link directories. He replied with, "Here are a few of the ones I use," and he then sent me about 5 links. I decided to click the second one for no apparent reason and see what I could find. I scrolled through the directory for a few minutes. He was right about how interesting the dark web was. I couldn't figure out where to start, so I clicked on a chat room. The website looked old and primitive, but surprisingly, there was one person online, so I started chatting with him. He seemed nice, if anything a bit shady, but it was better than scrolling through a bunch of dead websites. He said he's been on the dark web for a while as well. Finally, someone with a vast knowledge of what the dark web was. I asked him if he had any interesting links. Surprisingly, he sent me a link and then immediately left the chat, which I found really odd. I had no idea as to what was hidden behind the link. Looking back on it, I really wish I hadn't clicked it.
That's where all the trouble starts. People get so cocky and interested in something, they want to click on the link just to see where it goes to. But if you see a screen like this that says last chance, and they give you the option to leave or enter, hit leave before you watch something horrifying or get a virus put on your laptop or desk computer.
At the time, my own curiosity overwhelmed me, and I clicked the link without giving it a second thought. After it finally loaded due to Tor being really slow, I was presented with a pop-up box. It said in a red text, "If you don't know what's next, you're probably in the wrong place." There were 2 buttons, continue and leave. I instantly clicked continue, which was probably the biggest mistake of my life.
I'll say,
It brought up a black screen page with a blood-red title at the top of the screen, The Freak Show. In the middle of the screen, there was a chat box. A message popped up from someone titled Admin, who then said hello. I said, hello. Interesting website you got here. He replied with, "Thank you. Are you here to view the show?" I thought to myself, what show? Out of curiosity, I replied with yes. He then said, "Since you're a first-time viewer, it will cost you $500 via Bitcoin in order to view the show. Future viewings are free." From all the money I made hacking, I had enough to fuel my curiosity, so I went ahead and paid the $500.
See, right off the bat, right there. If they said 500 Bitcoin just for you to watch and then the future viewings are free, I'd be like, nah, that's okay. Just back out quick.
After paying him, I was surprised. I had been given a zip file instead of a link. I had developed a custom-made antivirus that appeared to work well, so I risked downloading it. When I unzipped the folder, there were 2 files inside, an installer and a file named readme.txt. I started by opening the text file. It just said in bold letters, "Do not send the installer to anyone, or else." I went ahead and closed the text file and opened the installer. After installing, it opened up automatically. Across the screen, it said, "Hello, welcome to the Freak Show. We use a custom program for our streams instead of live streaming on Tor due to Tor being too slow. And we also need the extra security." After about 10 seconds, the screen changed to a countdown with a chat room next to it. At this point, I was starting to feel like whatever would happen next would not be good, but it was too late to back out. The timer displayed that there were 30 minutes until the stream started. I set my screen name to James Kent 157. Not my real name, but I needed an alias. I said hi in the chat, but was ignored. I waited the 30 minutes, and after the timer hit 0, a video feed began. On screen, there was a guy in a mask with 3 people by his side. He started speaking with a voice changer to mask his voice. He said, "Welcome to the 26th stream of the Freak Show. We are happy to see all our old viewers and few new ones. We will now randomly choose who gets to choose who to kill first and how they get to die." At that point, I realized I was screwed. I was in too much shock to even close the window. Looking back, I remember hearing stories and rumors about this type of stuff. These sick and twisted shows for the pleasure of the public's amusement. Only, I thought it wasn't true.
Oh, yeah, it's true. Because I remember I reacted to one where a sick individual said, click on the person that you wanted to get rid of, basically. And when they clicked on like the elderly and her pet dog, the other 2 families were deleted. It's a very sick practice that these cult people do.
But it was. I watched as the feed turned into a bunch of names scrolling by until it landed on someone named Gore725. I watched as he made his horrible commands that involved stabbing and cutting and burning him with hot metal. I watched this as the sicko did all of it. I watched as the victim screamed in pain. After everything was done, he said, "Now for the next one." After he said that, I snapped out of it and went to go close the page. When I clicked on the X, it said, "Sorry, no leaving midstream." I was trapped. The wheel then popped up again, but this time it landed on me. I couldn't respond. Instead, I typed in chat, "You are sick. Why are you doing this?" I was met with all the people in chat calling me things like wuss, stupid, and retard. I then said, "I'm calling the police," and I really shouldn't have said that. The owner of the site then said, "Call the police and you'll be in next week's stream. Logan." That made my heart freeze. He knew my real name. He then pasted my parents' name, my address, school, age, and IP in the chat. I immediately went to my task manager to close the tour and the program. As soon as my task manager opened, it said that it wasn't responding. The guy then said, "Don't try that in chat." I pulled the plug on my computer without a doubt, and my screen finally went black. I ran to my parents' room, told them what had happened. They believed me and called the police, but not before lecturing and showing anger toward me. The police took care of everything and put us under police protection. Within a few months, they found the website owner. He was a 32-year-old man who lived in a combination of welfare and money he made from the Red Room. He thankfully received a life sentence in prison without parole. The dark web is an abyss of terrible things. If you're smart, you'll stay on the surface web, but it can't control what you do.
Like this person said, if you go on the deep web and you come across a situation like this where they draw your name to pick someone to be deleted, you either cooperate or unplug your computer, because you say, "This is sick, I'm calling the cops," then other people in the chat will call you a wuss or anything else bad towards you, and then the owner of the site would know where your real name is, where you live, what school do you go to. Then you'd be threatening your family's existence at your place, like this person did. But thankfully, when they called the cops, they got protective and found them a place to stay safe. And they actually found the person that was running that Red Room site. And I'm happy to hear that he's got life in prison without parole. But please don't get on the deep, dark web. You heard it from them. It's a dangerous place to look at online. Hope you all enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on post notifications for more Mr. Haunted related content like this. This has been another successful installment of the Tin Man Score channel. I'm your host, Jeffrey Tin Man Taylor. I say that's a wrap. Have a nice day, all.